Welcome to Reef Diary, day 38. Now that every drop of potassium is in my reef, that entire bottle has been completely used, I discovered that the dendrophilia is really opening up. Now, I have not seen this coral open up in 3 weeks, and I thought I should try to feed it. So I used some Benereef. Sorry, I did some bad filming here. Using 2 tablespoons of Benereef and a cup of tank water, I stirred it up and let it sit for 5 minutes to activate the bacteria, and then I grabbed a turkey baster, turned off the pumps in the tank, and I decided to try to target feed some of the corals, the LPS specifically. So I turned off the Vortec on this end of the tank, but I didn't turn off the MP60s at the other end of the tank. So there is still a little bit of movement in the tank, which kind of pushed the food away when I wanted it to stay put. The fish got very excited with what was happening. All right, with our lessened flow, now we can go ahead and put some food on our target, which in this case is going to be that dendro. I wanted to get some on it while it was open because it's been closed for so long, I didn't know how it was getting any food whatsoever. I also went ahead and focused on the lobos, on the hammer corals, on the frog spawn. I worked my way around every bit of the colony, hoping to get some toward each of the corals. And then I started to go ahead and squirt some on the Duncans. And there's 2 colonies of Duncans right there. And as I'm watching this, I realized I never squirted any at the Gorgonian, but this food went everywhere. So in about 3 minutes or so, everything in the tank has a chance to inhale it, but I just wanted to try a little bit of target feeding. Not so easy with a turkey baster in a 400-gallon. I might have been better off with a thicker paste and using a syringe, and I may do that in the future if I get super motivated. One of the reasons I like Benereef is it doesn't pollute the tank whatsoever. It just seems to provide a whole bunch of food, and you can use it a lot and not affect nitrate and phosphate. Another beneficial part of it is that it also is so small that almost every single mouth in the tank can inhale it, including the SPS corals. Now, if you look in the reflection, you'll see I'm squirting it all over an Acan echinata down on the sand bed. And I thought that'd be really cool, and in a couple minutes you're going to see something that I didn't quite expect. I worked my way across at the rest of the reef and went ahead and put some of the Lobophilia. I put some on the Lithophyllon. I aimed at the Pagoda Cup. I went ahead and got a little bit on some chalices. I just kind of wanted to give some food to everybody that normally would get some chunky stuff, but maybe is not getting enough recently because they were so shut down. I don't know. Could just be me being hopeful, but I do actually enjoy watching corals eat, and so I thought this would be kind of a fun thing to do. A few more puffs from the turkey baster at specific corals, and then I went ahead and poured the rest of it directly into the tank itself. So the return pump is off, the skimmer is off, one of the Vortec pumps is off, so the food is really staying in the display for a duration. But 10 minutes later, the return pump did turn on, but the skimmer is still shut off because I have it literally disabled. I also did turn on the Vortec pump about 20 minutes later to help circulate this end of the tank where the Gorgonian is and all these LPS corals. I should point out that I'm not overfeeding this tank. I'm actually using the correct amount based on the math that's provided by Benereef when it comes to feeding a reef tank. It's a 1/4 teaspoon per 25 gallons, 450-gallon system. 2 tablespoons is actually less than the actual prescribed dose. Look at that fat polyp. That whole orange section is super inflated full of food. These lobos appear to be more like expelling something rather than inhaling. This is a coral. This is the Lithophyllon. It's definitely got a bunch of mouths opened up. And this lobo also was doing something where it was pushing some, I don't know what, mucus into the water column. The Fungia looked inflated, so it was definitely inhaling or taking in food. And this poor chalice, one of 3 that looks like this. Now look really close. See all those little nipples sticking up? They're about to vanish. The copper band showed up. I totally didn't expect that. And he was really going at it. I was like, dang it. Let this coral have a meal. But that's okay. Everyone has to eat. So we'll just let this fish do what it does. You know, the other fish were running over there as well. You know, the skunk clownfish, the coral beauty. They're all here looking for something to snack on. And the Acan definitely had plenty of time to inhale smaller particulates that are not quite as visible to the copper band butterfly fish. I was actually very curious to see what the copper band is actually eating, because I was squirting in liquid food, and yet she seemed to be really going for some targeted stuff. Maybe it's this brown stuff that's coming out of the polyps. I'm not really positive, but yeah, this webbing must be laced with food, and she's just inhaling it like worms. Here are the frog spawn and hammer corals. They're also inflated, taking in some food. They're a little pale, but they should get better. And then I have a bunch of little acans, just a few polyps here and there, but they had polyps out, which made me really happy because I don't usually notice this kind of stuff. I feed the reef and I walk away and just let them do their thing. But taking a few moments out to really study them up close, I thought would be a fun thing to do and something nice to share on today's Reef Diary. Their gorgonian, like I said, I didn't actually give it any food directly, but yet it still found a way to inhale some, because every single one of those little polyps had its little tight fists going, so they all grabbed something. And I wanted to wrap this up with a time lapse of this really cool coral that is inside the anemone cube, and I dropped some pellet food on it. In about 30 minutes, it took this long to do what we're seeing now. One funny thing that you may not notice, you'd have to rewind this to watch it again, is the hermit crab got up there, grabbed one pellet, and literally fell off the coral. Thanks for watching today's diary, and we will have another one tomorrow. Be sure to like and subscribe and share it with all your friends.